didn't think I was only going to make a Moomin skirt, right? Hey ho, I'm Rachel, this is Missy, and we're Miss Daisy Sewing, and today we're going to continue on from our last project, which was the Moomin skirt. If you've not watched that one, do feel free to jot back a video and give that a watch. What we're planning on doing for today's video is making some little sort of cases, if you will, little bags for taking our toiletries and things in. So we're going to use David Shore's So Useful book. David Shore seems to produce everything, like all the half yard books or the fat quarter books. She's got tons of books. So this one is her So Useful. And we're going to make the small case, although we're going to make it a bit bigger because it's a pencil case. I would like something a bit larger than a pencil case. The idea being that one of them is going to have sort of all of our toiletries, and then the other will probably have sort of makeup and things like that in it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get cracking. These are actually test pieces for the previous project, which I decided not to use in the end. Obviously I've gone to the time and effort to make these, so I felt I might as well use them in something, which is partly the reason that this project was born. Although I used the book itself to keep me on track for the sizes and dimensions of each part of this project, a lot of it was run on vibes, where I was just cutting the pieces to be aesthetically pleasing around the individual Moomin, and then kind of worked on everything from there. This was also a scrap busting project, so all of this red and blue is scraps from old curtains that I've either hemmed or used in a different project for something. Long-time viewers might recognise this stripy fabric from my Christmas dress, and I was really pleased to find another use for it. Hey ho, we have a bonus dog today. This is my brother's dog Maisie, and she is fondly known as the draft excluder because she likes to lie in front of the doors. She's in a bit of a sulk at the moment because I put a dressing gown on her because we got absolutely soaked on the morning walk, but she needs to dry off and I don't want her doing that on my sofa. So there we go. I've noticed I've got enough of the red and the stripes here that I can quickly pop out another project, which is the Simplicity 1388 backpack, specifically version A in the corner there. I've made millions of these backpacks by now, so I'm going to work both projects in tandem and quickly get that cut out just now. So yeah, more Moomins, yay! I mean, I said a side quest, but full disclosure, I completely finished this bag before touching anything to do with the original parts. This was a scrap busting project, so the main fabric wasn't quite wide enough for the outside of the bag. I decided to sew two pieces of that main fabric together and sandwich in some of those stripes just to create a bit of a contrast, and I'm really pleased with how that turned out. Now feels like a good time to introduce my little TED talk, I suppose. Tove Jansson was able to create a world where there were characters that everybody could relate to for whatever reason, and for myself, my favourite character is not Moomin Troll, our cute and kind-hearted protagonist, or Snufkin, the cool nomad with the harmonica and philosophical streak. It's Moomin Mama. Yes, the one with the apron and the handbag, the mum, the caretaker, and in my opinion, the unshakable centre of Moomin Valley. And before I continue, with all of the pieces cut, that's the assembly of the bag beginning. I'm not going to go into too much detail, it's a really well written pattern, and let's just get back to Moomin Mama. At first glance, she is a stereotype, the typical mother figure. She bakes, she gardens, smooths over fights and arguments with a gentle word or homemade pie, and she's always calm and composed. But if you stop at that, you miss the quiet radicalism of her character, because she's not just a homemaker in the traditional sense of the word, she's a homemaker in its truest sense. She doesn't just keep the Moomin house running, she creates a space where others can be themselves. And in a world that's increasingly chaotic, divided and loud, I feel like that's a real act of courage. So we've got all of the straps neatly pinned in place on the inside, and then the plan's going to be pop this one here and sew all the way round. For turning right sides out, I've already opened the zip up a tiny little bit just there, so I can pop the zip open and just turn it right side out that way. But I like to keep it as closed as possible just because it keeps it firmer and a little bit easier to work with. Moomin Mama has this gift where she can listen without judgment. When guests arrive, no matter how strange, lost or broken, she welcomes them and doesn't try to fix them. She gives them tea, a warm bed and space to breathe. And maybe most importantly, she believes in their goodness even when they don't. Quick FYI, I originally sewed this with the loop over the bottom, but it won't actually lock in place like this side unless that loop's in the middle. So I've had to unpick the corners and pop them back in, but thankfully I spotted that before I did the lining. So yeah, now I'm going to start the lining. It's got the lining here, and that's going to go into the bag like so to hide all of the sins on the inside. So the inside will be the nice stripes as well. And then what we do is top stitch the lining alongside the zip, and that will also sort of top stitch the zip here as well. So just gently do that. The idea is that we're going to top stitch it down like that, and I'll get everything looking all nice and neat on the inside. It's a bit fiddly, so I'll do a little bit on camera, but I'll probably finish it off camera. In the Moomin books, Moomin Mama is often the character holding things together when the world threatens to fall apart. Comets are coming, floods are rising, weird creatures are knocking on the door. And there's Moomin Mama, calmly rowing the boat, literally and metaphorically, with her handbag tucked by her side. This isn't just about stoic survival, it's about nurture as resistance. In a world often full of battles and drama and loud declarations, Moomin Mama reminds us that gentleness is not weakness, and that it is strength with open hands. Moomin Mama shows that you don't have to be loud to be powerful, that creating a safe place for others is one of the bravest things that you can do. In her quiet way, she teaches us that being just a mother, or just a caregiver, or just a calm presence is not small. She doesn't try to be perfect. She knows things will go wrong, and she trusts that they'll find their way back with a little compassion and maybe some raspberry jam. And truly, I cannot think of a greater character. Messy this time. So the bag was slightly more a side quest than a tandem project. So let's get back to our actual scheduled programming and push on with the little bags. First thing the book wants us to do is cut these strips in half and then install the zip. So my plan is that on the red bag I want to have a contrasting blue, so I'm going to go with a pink zip, and then on the blue bag I'm going to have a contrasting red, so I'm going to use a blue zip. So I'm going to roughly trim the zips to size first, and I like to leave about an inch or so extra top and bottom. So I'm going to trim the zips, cut these in half, and then install the zips. With Moomin Mama comes Moomin Papa, so of course I had to have a matching pair in these bags. Moomin Papa himself is a very endearing character. Like all of the characters in Tove Jansson's world, there's many aspects to him. He's not just a 1D caricature. I adore the fact that he's flawed, but still absolutely lovable. He's got all of these different strengths about being clever, and he's a romantic dreamer, and is deeply reflective as seen in Exploits of Moomin Papa. But at the same time, he's moody, aloof, overly dramatic, but at the same time, he's not pompous. He's whimsical and very endearing. As you can see, we've got a nice seam on our outside and on the inside. So the next step is going to be repeating the same thing on this side here. So we'll attach just the blank blue side onto this piece, and then our other lining piece onto that bit there and here, and then we add on the bottom. So this is actually a really quick sew, actually, even with the two in tandem, which is really nice actually. So I'll get on with that next bit and then update you when it's done. I don't have too much to add on Moomin Papa, except that I do feel he has some of the best quotes. One of my favourites is that the world is full of great and wonderful things for those who are ready for them, which is Moomin Papa at sea. And my other favourite quote from The Exploits of Moomin Papa is, "For if you're not afraid, how can you really be brave?" And who would have expected such words of wisdom from a little white troll in a top hat? I really like the assembly of this bag. As I've already said, it was really quick to do, and all of the seams are nice and neat and hidden instantly, which was lovely. However, the way we attached the bottom meant that there was raw seams visible on the inside, which I wasn't very keen on, so I then decided to hand sew in the bottom layer of the lining to hide all of those raw seams. As you can see, Maisie had forgiven me by this point. So pleased, y'all. Like, we've got our Moomin Papa, we've got Moomin Mama, and these have turned out a really nice size. Like, possibly slightly too big, but I can put so much stuff in here. I'm probably going to use mine for all of my sort of travelling things to do. I'll easily fit my sewing project in here, my Kindle, MP3 player, my book, all of that jazz. So I'm probably going to use that just to keep all of my stuff organised with this. And I can't forget my little backpack. Like, for a side quest project, I am so happy with this. I think it's really distinctive and it's exactly what I wanted. It's perfect. When I was showing this off to my husband last night, he did ask if I could put pockets inside, like in this part on the inside, so that he could use it as an actual wash bag and just sort of store stuff neatly. The answer to that is no. Retrospectively, it'll be a pain in the backside to add in pockets, but that's okay because we've got one more really important character to talk about, and that's Snufkin. And Snufkin. The wanderer, the harmonica player, the philosopher in a floppy green hat. He comes and goes with the seasons. No suitcase, no plan, no possessions but his pipe, his fishing rod, and a love for freedom. There's something appealing about just how little he needs. He doesn't care for stuff, rules, or status. In a world where everyone's constantly busy, comparing themselves or stressing over little things, Snufkin is a reminder that you don't have to live like that. And even though he's kind of a loner, he's not cold. He's thoughtful, kind, and totally present when he's around. He doesn't judge people, but he also sets really clear boundaries. He'll be there for friends, but when it's time to go, he just goes. No guilt, no drama, just see you in the spring. And it's sort of that mix, that gentle, wise, and a little mysterious, but totally free, that I think is what appeals to a lot of people. Especially now when life is kind of overwhelming and noisy, like Snufkin's a little bit of a breath of fresh air. He's not trying to impress anyone, he's just being. And somehow that's exactly what makes him so memorable. That's all of the parts of the bag put together. I've made the two inside parts which have a knit pocket and then a zip pocket. And here you can sort of see me fluffing out the outside part of the bag, which I assembled in the same way as previous. I also added some handles because I liked the idea of being able to hang it on a door whilst it was being used as an actual wash bag. It took quite a bit of mental gymnastics to figure out how those inside parts would go into the bag so that when it was hanging, both the pockets faced the same direction. And that's all of the bags done for our little holiday. The wash bag was fantastic, and we managed to fit in so much stuff, which was great. The Moomin Mama and Moomin Papa bags also found their own uses. I did indeed use the Moomin Mama bag for storing all of my entertainment parts, and our Moomin Papa bag ended up becoming the bag where all of the munchies that we brought and bought ended up being stored, which was really handy when we needed a midnight snack. And lastly, the Moomin Mama bag. I got so many compliments on this, and it's like a TARDIS. Like, I love this bag pattern just because of how much it fits. I'd love to know your favourite Moomin character down in the comments. And until next time, cheerio!